Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys I wanted to talk about something that over the last year this has become more and more true, but compared to past formats in the past, or Yu-Gi-Oh! In the past, it has not reached that level yet. But overall, we have to admit that the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Over the last year has gotten more and more expensive. What are some of the reasons for that? Well, the stuff that is very expensive and the stuff that has come out over the last year has been staple-esque cards, or things that you can consider staple in decks. Your Solemn Strikes, your Pot of Desires, your Dimensional Barriers, your Crystal Wing if you're playing a deck that can run Crystal Wing. At the moment, Crystal Wing doesn't have a reprint, but yes, it's like a $70 card at the moment. So there's a lot of cards out there that are very expensive right now in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I can make an entire list of cards that are, $10 to $15 that are staple-esque cards for certain decks, like Zodiacs. That entire engine, it's an engine literally, is very expensive, to some degree at the moment that I'm making this video. So the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole has gotten a lot more expensive over the last year. But compared to the past, like Teledad format, when dads were going for $200 or more. When you go back to like older formats where there was more expensive cards, or the staple cards of that era were, $15 to $20 to $30 a piece for one card. So you look at that from the past, and I look at now, and I'm like, yeah, the game is expensive, but it's been more expensive in the past. We still have a lot of reprints happening, so the game is not too expensive, but it has gotten more expensive. Earlier, in the early part of last year, we had cheap Monarchs you could play. You could just pick up 3 structure decks and pretty much have a Monarch deck. But now you got, the DDD structure deck, but you need a lot of your extra deck cards, which are somewhat expensive to get. On top of that, you have your Zodiacs, which are some pretty expensive on their own, and then you got everything else, which is pretty expensive, $100, $200 to build a deck. Now, in the grand scheme of Yu-Gi-Oh! History, that's peanuts. That's not really expensive, but we can't deny that the game has gotten a little more expensive. I have noticed this as well. But the thing is, you always have to keep in mind, and even though Konami has not announced it, we're most likely going to get a Mega 10 sometime in August or September, or early October. Sometime in that time frame there, we will most likely get a Mega 10 or something similar to a Mega 10 that is just as good. They may change the name, but they'll probably have something with good reprints in it that will have a lot of the staple stuff. And there's a lot of reprint stuff coming out soon. And that fall, that fall time, in the late summer, all the way to Christmas time, that is what I call reprint season. That is when a lot of stuff usually gets reprinted during that time frame. That's been the case throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's history to some degree, for a long period of time, that is, where that is called reprint season, because a lot of stuff gets reprinted in that time frame. So usually that's the good time to pick stuff up, is when it's getting reprinted. But literally, guys, I believe that even though the game is expensive right now, there are cheap options out there to play competitively. There definitely is. There always is. There's a lot of good decks out there that you don't, you can play. You can do good at locals or regionals on that level and be successful with those decks. And it's been shown, that you can play those decks if you want to be cheap. Like Monarchs are still a deck that you can play Domain Monarchs with, which can shut down Zodiacs and things of that nature, or the Zodiac engine, which is out there still to some degree. So you can really run a whole bunch of cheap options out there that are definitely out there and be successful. I mean, yes, you may not be able to play the deck that you want to play. You may not be able to play Blue Eyes because Sage is expensive, or Dark Magician because Dark Magician stuff is expensive. But you can still play a deck that you want to play and be still a budget player, but be a competitive budget player and use your money wisely, knowing that things will get reprinted down the road and you can play those cards in the future. So that's what I say, guys. Yes, the game is expensive. Yes, it is a little more expensive than it usually is, but it's not as expensive as it has been in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Past. I mean, we probably got spoiled over the last 2 to 3 years prior to this of the game being fairly cheap. and I mean super cheap, with Mega 10 reprints and gold reprints and things of that nature. The game was very cheap. They had good structure decks which you could pretty much pick up, build a deck for free. You know, ABCs is kind of like that, or was kind of like that, and you know, so it's very true that the game is expensive at the moment, but it's been more expensive in the past. It will probably get cheaper in the future, and we'll have to see how things play out. But I think the main reason that things have gotten more expensive is there's a lot of staple cards out there, or cards that are staple for certain decks, and they're high rarity and they're in high demand. So until they get reprinted, they're still going to be in high demand, and they're necessarily, or they don't have enough reprints. Daigusto Emerald for a while, I know was, the gold rare was like $20 that got reprinted last year. The secrets were going for $30, and the hidden arsenal, hidden arsenal ones were going for like $40 or $50. So I mean, even though they may have reprints, they're still expensive cards, and they need more reprints maybe of that card because it's such a staple card. Like Twin Twister, Twin Twisters, I know at the moment of me doing this video are like $12, $13, $14 for one Twin Twister. That card needs more reprints. Literally, it's somewhat a staple. Yes, we have Cosmic Cyclone, Galaxy Cyclone, I believe it's called. But there's a whole bunch of other cards out there that are just staples, and because they haven't been reprinted, they're going up and up. And for certain, certain, a lot of the decks out at the moment, they require staple cards to play, or certain cards for that deck that are staple that have not been reprinted. So tell me what you think, guys. Do you think the games got a little bit more expensive recently over the last year compared to previous years? I mean, it's not on the level of Dad, when Dad was very expensive, Teledad format, or Light Swarmers were all secret rare, and we didn't get 2 secrets per pack, per box, so secrets were more expensive and ultra rares were more expensive. So it's not as expensive as the past year, but it is a little bit more expensive than previous years, I would say. Recent years. But till next time, guys, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling. I apologize about my voice. I'm getting over a cold. I woke up this morning to do this video and I'm just kind of like so I do apologize, guys. But till next time, take care and good luck dueling to all of you.